Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us for another episode of Practical Law. My name is Troy Tyson. I am an attorney practicing in the state of Indiana. As always, any information I give you here today is not going to constitute legal advice, nor is it intended to create any type of attorney-client relationship. I want to talk today about the costs of bringing a case, or the cost of being involved in a case. One of the most frequent questions that prospective clients have with me or with any other attorney when they're signing on to a case: how much is this going to cost? In fact, that may be the number one question, is how much is this going to cost, next to maybe, am I going to win? Okay, so I have to preface this answer by giving the standard lawyer answer of it depends. And I always hate giving that answer because I know clients come to me expecting some level of certainty or some level of assurance and specifics. And whenever possible, I always try to give that information, but that's rarely possible in the practice of law, unfortunately. And this is a good example where the type of cost, the level of cost depends so much on so many factors: the type of case that you have, how experienced is your attorney, what jurisdiction are you in? Are you in Manhattan or are you in Montana? It's going to make a difference, right? How combative are the two sides? How hotly contested is the case? How strong is your case? All of those factors play a role in determining how much your case is ultimately going to cost. Okay, so I have to preface it with that. The numbers that I'm going to give here today are going to be very, very loose numbers, kind of just a broad framework to give you some mindset. But by the time you sit down with an attorney and start factoring out the cost, it could be vastly different. Okay, so I just have to qualify this with that. Number one. Number two, I want to talk about the different types of fees that most lawyers charge. The first is the hourly rate. Okay, that's what most attorneys bill on for most cases. Okay, that just is, we have a set rate that I will charge as the attorney. There is another rate that my administrative staff charges for their work, and we just bill by the hour. We bill as we work on the case. If we do 10 hours at our rate, it's 10 times our rate. There you go. Right? Pretty straightforward. That's the standard for most of the legal industry. Second type of fee is a flat fee. And some attorneys, I use them sometimes for particular cases. If you kind of know, if it's a low-level case and you kind of know what to anticipate, know how many hours it's likely to require, it makes it, a lot of clients like flat fees because they're predictable. It makes it predictable for the attorney as well. So those work in some cases. We don't use them for the majority of our cases, but they do work for some. You see this a lot in bankruptcy cases. You see this a lot in criminal cases as well, especially low-level criminal cases. The third type is contingency fee. Okay, and see this a lot in personal injury cases where the lawyer says, you don't pay anything up front. I'm just going to take a percentage off the back if we're able to get, a win for you or get something, a settlement or a trial win or something like that. If we're able to recover for you, then I will take a portion of that as my fee. And usually that ranges between 25 and 40% for most contingency fees. So in a contingency case, you typically will pay nothing up front. Okay, your expenses will come on the back end out of your recovery. Okay, and those can be substantial. As I said, it can be upwards of 40% or even higher in some cases, depending on the case. Okay, so let's talk about hourly and flat fee. Because contingencies don't require a fee up front, let's talk about hourly and flat fee. So as a and again, I don't want to sound like a broken record, but as a very broad framework for you to work in, generally a criminal misdemeanor, a low-level civil case, like a small claims case, things like that are fairly straightforward, fairly predictable, don't usually last longer than 3 months or so, you can expect to pay anywhere between $1,000 and $2,000 on average. And you'll see a lot of flat fee options for those types of cases as well. So look around, talk to different attorneys. Many of them will offer flat fee for those types of services. When you're in mid-range cases, maybe low-level felonies, maybe multiple DUI or something like that, family cases, custody, child support, things like that, Those are what I would call mid-range cases. Maybe some mid-level civil litigation where the damages in question are maybe, 25,000, 50,000 in that range. In that case, you're probably looking in the ballpark of between 2,500 and 5,000. Okay, somewhere in between those for legal fees. Now, keep in mind, I'm not including things like mediation costs or arbitration costs, which are going to factor in. I'm also not factoring in court costs, okay, which are usually smaller, usually in the range of $100 to $200. But still, I'm not factoring those in. I'm only talking about attorneys' fees and the fees for the attorney staff, okay? Usually for the mid-level cases, somewhere in the range of 2,500 to 5,000. If you're going high-level cases, let's talk about like high-level felonies, high federal cases, major civil litigation, that is litigation over $50,000. That's where it can get, the numbers, not only do they get more expensive, the cases, but they also get much harder to predict because the variables just continue to add up, right? And it gets very, very difficult to predict because there's so many unknowns, right? Usually in a case like that, you're looking at 5,000 and up, okay? And for a very, very high level case, it's not unheard of to be in the $15,000 to $25,000 range. Okay, I would say for most of my civil litigation, most of it, we're somewhere between 10 and 15,000. Okay, and those cases tend to be protracted as well. They tend to last, 18 months is common in a case like that. Okay, hopefully that will give you some guidance. Again, don't rely on that. The best thing for you to do is talk to an attorney or talk to multiple attorneys, get their rates and kind of lock that in, get their opinion based on your jurisdiction, your type of case. That's going to be more helpful for you. But hopefully this helps to give you some broad guidelines and give you some direction. If you got value out of this, hit that like button, consider subscribing to our channel. Otherwise, we'll see you in the next video.